Yeah, we're basically looking for, B2B reps. We have a product that we've been working on for a few years developing, and we just recently got our FDA clearance. And so everything you said about recruiting reps, we've been through. And I think, from our standpoint right now, we're looking for a resource, and it's nationally. So we're looking to add. The one question I have out of all of that, I guess,
Yeah.
is seem to be able to connect to direct to consumer reps, B2B. Do you work on a database of people that have, obviously we want B2B because we're looking to get placement in retail. How do you determine like who comes and visits when you put stuff out, or you have them already categorized by the reps?
Yeah, so it's advertising to whatever the nature of the model is, right? So if you have a remote, we're hiring all over the country, B2B reps that manage the full A to Z sales cycle, field sales, or a mixture of inside sales from home and field sales, whatever the nature of the model is for you, we advertise and source those candidates and bring them through the recruiting process that we covered today. So it's just based on whatever the model is. Is it remote, meaning that you can hire anybody in the country, or is it, specific states?
No, it's really anywhere because we're basically posturing ourselves. It's a national product. We've had some meetings with the major retailers, and we want to build a broad scope because it's a product that anyone who consumes alcohol can use. So
Yeah.
it's basically it's open for us, and that's really cool. It's also when you're
Yeah.
marketing and you're trying to recruit reps, it's a challenge too because we want placement. So, and we're
Yeah.
okay with independent retailers, single store, small chains,
Yeah.
distributors.
So you got a team of 10, so you understand what it looks like to recruit and onboard and stuff already. How did the onboarding stuff kind of hit for you today?
It's interesting. Yeah, I think what you're saying, the impact of the numbers, and I think you're being truthful about, and I'm just based on my experience of you get one out of, just like you said, maybe 1 out of 10 who you think are potential candidates. You might be lucky to reach those numbers. So I like this ability to scale
Yeah.
to talk to more people because it gives you a better chance, I think.
To be
Yeah.
quite frank, it wasn't very successful. Everyone is excited to start. They were given all the tools to succeed, and they fizzle out pretty quickly because myriad of reasons. My biggest, in my experience, being in the beauty industry for as long as I have, and managing $3 billion company at retail, is they have too many lines in their bag, and who are they pulling out,
Yeah.
and where they're spending their time. The reps that seem to be the most eager are the ones that are, I like to call them line hogs. They just want as many lines as they could get, and they're order takers. They're not salespeople.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. And what's kind of do you guys have a bare minimum that you expect, and what's kind of the ramp up timeline to that? Is it like 6 months? Like if you may not have a baseline, but if you were to say, hey, like on average, once a rep is ramped up, maybe like in year two, this is kind of the bare minimum in revenue that we would expect from them. I know it could be all across the board, but do you have kind of a estimation on that and what the timeline would be ramping up into that bare minimum?
Well, this business, it was a bit harder because the biggest hurdle we had was FDA clearance, which has only been satisfied recently. So we don't have those expectations, did not have those expectations because of not having that approval just yet. So I have it in my mind, but that would be a conversation Tim and I would have to have before entering into that answer.
What's the kind of the just not a deep run through, but just like the high level details of the comp?
10% of the sales?
Yeah, and no training pay or anything, right?
No, generally not.
Yeah, I'm assuming it. If it's a rep that's decent, it's probably like a 6 month-ish ramp up period, hard sales cycle.
Yeah, it depends. I think the product is, when presenting, it actually is very, very well received. So we've had success stories within 30 days. But yeah,
Yeah,
just like anything else, a
yeah,
true ramp up period is approximately half a year, as you
yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah. So
Especially when you're dealing with big box, that could be even longer depending on review periods.
yeah, so like you guys have a really challenging model, right? Obviously, like Tim knows that, you know that, right? That's why he's referencing like reality is it's like 10 to 1, right? So on the recruiting side, our business exists just to make the 10 not a nightmare for you guys, but also the onboarding the 10 is also a nightmare, so we make that not a nightmare. And so you understand in general how we do that today. But in your model, one of the things that help close the retention gap a little bit, and there's a lot of nuances that we help out with clients, but especially in a model like this, and you don't have to do it. This can increase your volume, your quality of candidates that commit to the opportunity, and it can, based on what you've historically done, 2x your retention rates overnight. And there's a bunch of things like this that we help clients on with. It's really nuanced. So these are not things that we typically like fix in the sales cycle, but they get fixed as a client. But just a note, since we have time for today, and if this is not a requirement, but this is something that'll make your guys' life easier. Sometimes it doesn't work because of money reasons, but I don't know how the cash flow aspect works with what you guys sell. But if it's a 6-month process, in an ideal world, right, we benchmark everything that needs to happen over 6 months, right? Let's say, I don't know what the income opportunity is like, but let's just say that bare minimum that you expect, that's X. Let's say that produces, 100K bare minimum in income. It may be less, it may be a lot more. This is 8K, okay? And let's say that we've concluded that it's the 6-month, mark to get there. And it's, 8K month 1, 6.5, or 8K month 6, 6.5K month 5, then 5K, then 3.5, and then 2, and then 0, whatever, right? And let's say that's kind of the income and what it looks like to ramp up into the bare minimum expectations over a year. Well, what we like to do with clients is we like to help them benchmark all the kind of activities, weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way through the ramp up period. And what you guys do, it's an option, it'll make your life a lot easier, is you design what we call activity-based training pay. So when a rep follows the 4 weeks perfectly, although it's not bringing in a ton of money for the company and for themselves, they have a bonus to look forward to that's on top of the commission plan, okay? And this helps communicate hypothetically training pay in the recruiting process, but objectively helps retention because they're getting a couple bucks early as they ramp up into what they really want, which is over here. So there's like 5 to 10 things like this that will help bring your commission-based model together. That will just naturally help you out with as a client, okay? But especially in a very challenging sales model like yours, hard decision maker, there's not a lot of like volume in the pipeline, I imagine. Long sales cycle, deal sizes are totally random. It helps a lot to kind of close the gap on something like this. Are any of the 10 currently like sales leadership?
Yeah, well, I think Jay manages those, but I think, that I was putting our high number over the last, year. But for our purposes, we're kind of starting with a clean slate. And that's why we're looking at opportunities like yours, because we're relaunching and we rebranded because of the FDA clearance. So we're kind of at square one, but the opportunity is much greater because of the FDA clearance. There's no obstacles to retailers carrying our product.
Yeah, I like it from a recruiting perspective. It sounds fancy, sounds important, so that helps.
Yeah.
Another thing that will help you guys, and there's other nuances, but we got a few minutes, so I think this may be helpful for you. And it's really, applicable to almost every company that we serve, especially in your model, right? Like you want to get me as an example to say, hey, I like Tim, I like the VP, I like what they're doing, I like this new approval that they got, their brand, I like it, but do I want to go through those first 6 months? And you would want me to ideally say yes and actually show up and do the work, right? So it's like, how many things can we throw into the mix to make the carrot better, to get them through that first 6 months, which is everything. For you guys, especially because you have I'm just making an assumption, and I know you threw out the 20 number, but I imagine if you hit the 20 number, it's much more scalable than that. And you're like, okay, we're going to go to 100, I guess now, whatever, right? So you guys together could have a good time doing this and thinking through, like, let's say hypothetically we were able to, scale up what we actually want. And I think for you guys with the remote opportunity, what's conservatively reasonable is, you guys with a good onboarding system, onboarding 10 to 20 a month, and then retaining 10 to 20 a month, call it 15, and retaining 2, maybe 3 out of those reps, right? If you do that over a year, then you're 25 to 30. I conservatively think that's a reasonable goal. What's cool about a remote opportunity is you can increase ad budget and you can continue to increase the volume through the top end of the recruiting system really easily in a model like yours. But based on just kind of client averages and what is conservatively realistic, that's kind of what it would look like, because you guys have high attrition numbers because of the nature of sales cycle. But one of the things that can help with this, because what you want, because of how challenging the role is you want obviously higher volumes of higher quality people to commit, because you actually need a skill set in this, right? And so the better that the future opportunity is, even though maybe the income annual opportunity is great enough, I don't know, maybe it's a 300K position or a $500,000 or maybe whatever. It may just by the position alone be amazing. But what's really important, and this is for every organization, is having a vision that reps actually want to be a part of. So let's say that you guys, just for the, I don't know what it is, but let's say we're at $5 million, right? I don't care what you guys are at, but let's just say we're at $5 million. Or no, let's say that a company's at $1 million in revenue, right? They're typically going to want to go to 2 million, and then they're going to want to go to 5, and then it's 10, and then it's 20, and then it's 50. So if a company was at 1, and I'm like, hey, what kind of organization that you want to scale? They're going to be like, 2 million. That's the next big goal. But the problem there is that's not exciting to the candidates coming through the marketplace or through the recruiting pipeline, especially in a challenging sales model. So I'm going to say, hey, I get that that's important to you guys, but it's not going to be exciting to everybody else. So we need to think through a few goals down the line. So if you got to 2 million, would you go to 5 million? Yes. If you went to 5, would you go to 10? Yes. All right, well, let's think through these numbers a little bit instead and reverse engineer the org chart based on this so that we can recruit into something exciting. So let's say that we developed a vision to go from, 1 million to just, we'll just think big, right? 1 to 20 million, okay? And which is obviously a difference of 19 million. We'll just call it 20 million for the sake of illustration. So I need to build an organization that's 20 million. Let's say that I have a rep quota of 500K, which means I'm going to need 40 sales reps to build an organization of 20 million. Okay. And then, as the organization scales, let's say that we got a 40, team of 40, right? Well, naturally, even he's going to need, leadership under him, right? Let's say that we have teams of 8 reps. Well, if we have a team of 8 reps, that means we need 5 sales managers, and we're probably going to need a VP of sales, even below him, right? And all of a sudden, I have an organization where I have a VP of sales, I have 5 sales managers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a team of 8 under those guys, which creates my team of 40 that gets me to 20 million. And really what you're recruiting guys like me into is the opportunity that exists at 12 months if they make it that far and do X, Y, and Z consistently over a 12-month period to get this role and to have a shot at the big boy role here under him. So this for you guys, in my opinion, is critical. If you can make it work, that'll make your life a lot easier. You could take that, that conservative, super conservative 9-ish months to get to the 20 based on the numbers that I said and cut it in half because the opportunity is just objectively better. And then what we do from there is we make the opportunity from, these 8 reps, right? The opportunity because these people want, they really love this role. They're interested in that role, right? The higher quality guys do. Then what you do is there's an objective plan to pitch about, right? Because everybody says growth opportunity, but it's like, hey, what I love about this organization, because we just got the FDA approval, we have very specific plans for growth in the next 36 months. So we're going to scale $20 million of revenue in the next 36 months, and this is the exact org chart that's going to exist. None of these 6 leadership opportunities, the 5 sales managers, the 1 VP of sales, none of those positions will be acquired outside of a sales rep starting here first. And that's one of the most exciting things about our opportunity outside of just the core sales position alone. And so for some of you in this group interview, right, I'm pretending you guys are candidates, this is the opportunity that exists on top of the nature of the sales role. So when you can put that into the mix along with activity-based training pay, right, these are things that will increase the volume, the quality, proactively help retention. And then if for you and your executive, it's not a nightmare to do the recruiting and onboarding function, which even if you have a decent amount of human resources, it is like him doing that stuff. His time is much more valuable, and then you can execute it.